my next question relates to another relatively recent reform which is reflected in the new rules, and that relates to office holder remuneration. So that's been a tension. You know, we can go back to 2005 and Registrar Base's judgment in Cable-Tel, and then subsequently we come to Professor Kempson's review, and then the reforms that flowed from her review, and then moving forward into a potential new regime. What would you say to the
the original regime in the 86 Act was basically a time cost or a percentage basis. Then in 2010 they brought in the ability to split that and also have a set fee, especially for solvent liquidations, but also for smaller cases where, you know, a set fee would be the ideal way of dealing with it.
Yeah.
The Business and Enterprise Act brought in, and this is reflected already because it was brought in 2015, it came in last October, was the need to, at the start of a job, give an estimate of fees. So before that you would have the basis approved and then the quantum would flow from that. In 2010 then the requirement, or not the requirement, but the ability for creditors to challenge the quantum in each period was brought in, and now we've got the third part of the equation, which is the estimate at the start. So we now need an estimate. When you're asking for your basis to be approved, you have to give an estimate of what that fee will be, what you've included in that estimate, and then when you report, so in every progress report, you are saying that the basis of, say, time cost was approved on this date, and my time cost for this period is X. This is what I've done for it. This was the estimate that I gave at the start of the job, and I'm under that estimate or I'm over that estimate, and if I'm over that estimate, I'm over it because of X, Y, Z.
And from your, sorry.
I'm just going to say, it actually gives a bit more transparency to the whole process. I think creditors felt that having voted for a time cost resolution at the start of a job, they would never see anything because whatever money was realised simply was used to pay fees.
Yeah. So, well, on that point, do you think that this new, just a general point that obviously is encompassed within the rules but talks to policy generally, the fee change in terms of, well, you know, how long is a piece of string? Do you see any practical difficulties going forward in those estimates as compared with what their true cost may have been in due course, and burdens that IPs might face from that?
There are practical difficulties, but nothing that can't be dealt with. I think, you know, it's a bit like taking your car in for a service. You know, they'll tell you roughly what it's going to cost, and then they'll say to you, you know, if we find anything major wrong with your car, we'll give you a call. It's exactly the same principle. You know, this is what I expect it to be. If something major goes wrong or we find something horrible, then we'll tell you if it's going to cost more money. So it's about transparency and accountability, which, you know, I know people find it difficult to deal with, but you know, it's in everybody's best interest.
Does the nature, though, of the work for IP sometimes mean that the ability to estimate doesn't take account of different interests or points that might come to the fore in due course?
Well, that's where you know, you've got the ability then in each progress report to explain. I haven't seen the final, until we get the final version, we can't see how that needs to be dealt with, whether you would need specifically a special resolution effectively, or a new resolution to approve that. As the way I can see it is that, you know, you've given an estimate, maybe you've run over that estimate and you give an explanation for it, and the creditors have still got their 8 weeks in which to challenge that. So whether or not you want it to be a positive or a negative, so whether or not it's going to be a positive challenge or a negative challenge. So in other words, you know, I've explained what the difference is, and if you don't like it, challenge it, or whether I can take the estimate which I said originally and you need to positively approve the difference. So I don't know whether it's going to be a positive or a negative yet.